All right, dorks. Welcome to Dorks Play Magic the Gathering episode 7.1, which means this is the episode where we will take a look and review the next set. Open our box, see what we pull, and maybe we'll find time to try to make a deck. I already know that I'm gonna be playing the Dork format against Joe, and we're introducing the standard format. And this is gonna be pretty exciting because the first standard, I think I can show this on stream. So we are now past Fallen Empire. So that was the last set. So here's the Dark on August 8th. Then was the World Championship. I'm gonna make this a bit bigger. That was the World Championship. And then in November 15 was the release of Fallen Empires. And that was the last set of 1994. So we are already entering 1995. This is where Standard was introduced. So we're introducing Standard, and it's gonna... there's no real... So this is again the description of how Standard was introduced. And the only legal sets in Standard at first were Revised, the Dark, and Fallen Empires. So this is gonna be pretty exciting. Here you have another like visual view of this. So this is where it was introduced. This was how it looked at first. We had okay. All right. This is how it looked at the beginning. There was only 514 legal cards. I think nowadays it's more like 3,000 in Standard. Standard nowadays feels more like Extended, to be honest. That's how big Extended used to. I think it's actually bigger than how the size of Extended back then. Anyway, so it largely takes the restricted list from Vintage. Back then they were called Type 1 and Type 2. Yeah, so a format with just Revised, the Dark, and Fallen Empires is honestly hilarious. And yeah, and changes to the Dork format. I can't really show this on screen, but I drew Temperance, which allowed me to restrict some and unrestrict some cards, but the restricted list was empty, so I let Joe and Kieran restrict some cards. So the current situation is that Kieran restricted Strip Mine and Control Magic for the Dork format. Joe restricted Library of Alexandria and Maze of Ith, and I restricted Nevinyrral's Disc, and then I unrestricted Control Magic. So the current restricted cards in the Dork Playground format are Strip Mine, Nevinyrral's Disc, Library of Alexandria, and Maze of Ith. Yeah. And that's my reward for drawing Temperance. I also got a copy of Nevinyrral's Disc. That's why I did that, to be honest. Like, I wanted a copy of Nevinyrral's Disc, so I have a way to destroy creatures and enchantments and artifacts, but those aren't that hard to destroy. But some colors have a lot of problems with getting rid of these things, so Nevinyrral's Disc was a very popular colorless way of blowing up almost everything, except lands. So I love that thing, so I wanted a copy. So there you go, but it was a rare in Alpha, Unlimited, and Revised, I think. Anyway, so yeah, so that's kind of the news for that. So Standard is going to be really fun. So now we have 3 formats: Standard, Dork, and Vintage. So yeah, but we still have to figure out which formats we're going to be playing. I know I'm going to be playing Dork against Joe, but Kieran hasn't really responded yet what he wants to do. But I would definitely like to try this. I think at least Joe against Kieran is going to be the Standard format, but we'll see. Definitely someone is going to play it. All right. Now the exciting part of so we have the Standard format, and we got our book promos, including Mana Crypt. the Harper Prism promos. Those are like the big changes from between episodes. Other than that, there weren't really any big happenings, as you can see. So after Fallen Empires, it's gonna be 4th edition, which is entirely just reprints. It's a bunch of reprints from the core sets. I think some stuff from Arabian Nights, Antiquities, and Legends. And some stuff from the Dark. I think that's basically it. I think Ball Lightning is in there. Okay, Kieran responded to me, but I don't know. I'm not sure what he means. Maybe we'll spin a wheel. To decide the formats. But while he replies to me, so yeah, so this is just gonna be 4th edition. There's nothing else between these releases, so there's no real happenings. There's gonna be some movements on the restricted list for both Vintage and Standard. Balance is gonna be restricted, and as well as Fork. Balance in both formats. Fork isn't legal in Standard anyway, because it's not in Revised as far as I know. I think that's the only change. And after, it's gonna get exciting. After 4th edition, we're already gonna be moving into Ice Age. That they said it's gonna change a lot. I'm already looking forward to it. And then Alliances, and then I guess Homelands. But by that time, we're gonna have a lot of interesting cards to play with. Okay, what is he saying? Okay, it looks like Kieran doesn't care. Alright, I think I'm gonna do a spin wheel then. And actually, it's pretty much these options. Yeah, so let's do Kieran versus Joe first. And now Kieran against me. Honestly, I wanted to play Standard, but okay, sorry for the dead air, guys, but yeah, I spun the wheel and I'm informing them. that Kieran versus Joe is gonna be standard format, and Kieran versus me is gonna be vintage. Yeah, it's using. Yeah, I'm explaining to Kieran how to filter the collection to sort it by standard legal things. Yeah. Yeah, Kieran is asking if it. Yeah. Kieran is asking if in standard format we use our collections or like any cards, but of course this collection is still prog. Alright, so sorry guys for the. I had to. Kieran isn't online much, so yeah, I had to something to discuss. So let's talk about the main event, obviously, which is Fallen Empires. I think it's a very underrated set. So, like, from the get-go, the thing I want to talk about, like, many people just kind of don't understand, like, how the set is constructed. It is about, so Legends was about multicolor cards and people's R&D, D&D, R&D, D&D, Freudian slip, D&D characters, like their personal campaigns. The story was kind of discombobulated. It was there wasn't much of a coherent storyline. The dark was the consequence of the Silex blast and like darkness, like a dark period of people who didn't trust magic users and whatever, and like people hiding in caves and evil churches and whatever, and Tividar's crusade, like against the goblins and all that kind of stuff. And the dark had like a little bit of a tribal thing, like very little, like a little bit of goblin support. But it was only like getting your feet, like getting your toes wet a little bit. But I think like Fallen Empires. Oh yeah, and the dark was about subverting the colors, like the dark side of each color. And we're gonna explore that in a bit of a different way in Fallen Empires. Fallen Empires has like a very strong tribal theme. Like, it explores for the first time, okay, here we have multiple different factions. Even inside each color, there's a civil war between factions inside the same color. And I'm not sure they've ever done that again, but I find that pretty fascinating. Well, this says it's a flavor-based theme, which, okay, doesn't tell you much, but the implication, I guess, is that it's top-down, which it certainly is. The approach of the Ice Age, struggle between different factions, creature types, yeah. Notable cards include High Tide and Him to Turok. But I think this is very reductive. There's definitely more notable cards than these two. Like, people only think there's only like these two and maybe Goblin Grenade. Are wrong. Literally watch the I think the Pro Tour of 1996, I believe. Or was it 95? I think it was maybe. No, it was Pro Tour in 96. I think it was. The one with Randy Bueller, where he literally just, like, it was a Necropotence deck, but he literally just won by constantly swinging with Order of the Ebon Hand and Knight of Stromguld, right? Like, basically a bunch of Pump Knights. And they made their debut in this set. Like, you can't not mention those. That's crazy. And there's a couple others that I find, kind of very overlooked. But ultimately, I think Fallen Empires is a story of teaching Wizards of the Coast what not to do, like massively overprinting a set, so they didn't really have a sense of what the upper limit is of what they should be printing. Well, they learned their lesson with this. They printed way too much. This is what the booster looks like. Yeah, so this is once again a small expansion with 8 card packs, and the boxes have 60 packs in them each. And we're also gonna see the different arts on commons, which I find honestly pretty cool. Like, people have a mixed opinion of those, but I think nowadays we have so many special treatments that in hindsight people will say that was confusing. I don't know, man. Antiquities already had multiple arts. Yes, it wasn't as egregious. Like, Mishra's Factory looks, all the arts look pretty similar to each other. Strip Mine looks almost the same. The Tron lands, it doesn't really matter what they look like. You just and they're just buildings anyway. But yeah, so this is about it being overproduced. It was available for like 4 years. 1988. That's like what Urza Saga territory. By that point, that's crazy. Yeah. Yep, 340 million cards, so massively overprinted. And they had to spend a lot of money to store them and all that. A bunch of issues. And then they made a formula of how much they should be printing. So basically, they learned a big lesson on not to overprint. So that maybe even though the game is really popular and taking off, like, maybe we shouldn't just print like insane amounts of cards, although they will print 500 million of 4th edition. A set that, like, I'm not sure that was necessary. Like, because it was quite a bit weaker than revised. But 4th edition did sell okay. Anyway. And then we get to, okay, so this is about the content of Sarpedia. We will look at that a little bit more very soon. And so this is after the Brothers' War, and this is on Dominaria. This is still on the plane of Dominaria. Ice Age is approaching, a changing climate, dwindling resources, fighting amongst allies for survival. Yeah, okay, so this is basically, resources are scarce, and someone's sending me a message. That's okay. Yeah, so very flavorful, a lot of flavor text, Sarpedian Chronicles and the flavor text, a lot of cohesive glue between the flavor text here. I think this is the first time they really did that. Like, it's a very cohesive world, like much more so than the implications in Alpha, the very D&D inspired Alpha and even Legends, you could say. Legends had a bit more cohesion to it, but it wasn't like this. This has an actual storyline. Like, I would say the most so far, except for, I mean, you could argue the Dark, but that was, or maybe, yeah, I mean, I don't know, like Legends also didn't have much. You could argue Antiquities had maybe the most, but Antiquities was mostly hints at the Brothers' War. Like, you didn't know exactly what happened, and a lot of that would be revealed a bit later with the Urza block. But yeah, I mean, there was some information for sure, but there were a lot of like tokens and counters. People found that annoying as well, so they also learned a lesson not to overdo it with that. But let's talk about so we had the tribal themes. We have the we have basically 10 factions in the 5 colors. We have the Order of Lightbur in Acacia and the Feralites. The Feralites were like a zealous cult that were like accusing everyone of being in the Ebon Hand or whatever. So they were basically zealots. It's a little bit like the Dark, where inside white you have like the normal people in Acacia, and then you have the very zealous Feralites that are persecuting everyone and trying to wipe out anyone who's like a cultist or whatever they believe is a cultist. So this is like a conflict within the color that's like ideology based, but they're all humans, so you know, so it's like a ideological conflict, or like a debate on tactics and methods of how to deal with the Order of the Ebon Hand. In blue we have something very funny. We have the Vodalian merfolk, and they are being driven into extinction by the Homerids because the temperature is dropping. The crab people from the south are suddenly like multiplying like crazy and reaching into areas where the merfolk reside, and the Homerids are slowly wiping out the merfolk. So this is like a biological threat. It's like, you know, like it's kind of like a competition, like survival of the fittest, am I right? So the Homerids are like multiplying way faster than the merfolk. And this is an interesting inner conflict in blue, and it's kind of unrelated to anything else that's going on in the story, but I find it pretty interesting. Then you have the Order of the Ebon Hand, which are like cultists. And I think they worship Turok, from him to Turok. And they have like these slaves, the thralls. And this is pretty fascinating. The thralls are like a slave people, or like, I don't know, are they already people? I don't know. Slave beings, like they're being cultivated and bred inside the order for labor, for like hard labor, and then eventually they rise up, and it's like a slave rebellion. So this is pretty awesome. Like, this is, like, you know, a conflict within black is slaves rising up against their masters. And then in red, we have the classic conflict of dwarfs versus an army of orcs and goblins. And I think fairly early on in the story, the dwarfs get overrun by the goblins and orcs, which is maybe why there's not many dwarfs in here. And then in green, we have another biological threat, the Thalids. I mean, it's kind of similar to black, where the Thalids are used by some of the elven priests as nutrition, basically. I mean, since resources are scarce, some elves have started cultivating fungi beings, the Thalids, but then they get out of control and start taking over and defeating, like massively reproducing and defeating the elves. The elves of Havenwood are not very warrior-like. They're like mostly farmers and hunters. They're not really good at combat, so they get pretty much, apparently they get obliterated in the whole. The Elven Empire here in Havenwood gets defeated by the Thalids and overrun in a single day. So this is pretty cool. So in blue and green, we have like this biological threat, and there's also like a connection between how it's in green and black, because it's kind of like, okay, you're cultivated as a resource, but then you rise up. So the Thalid and the Thralls, and which is hilarious. I mean, if you spoiler warning, Fallen Empires is called Fallen Empires because all of the empires collapse. The merfolk get obliterated, the dwarves, and even later the goblins and orcs get obliterated. The Order of the Ebon Hand falls to the thralls. The Feralites are defeated by, actually, I think, what's his name? Here was a comic book story about all this. Yeah, Tevesh. This is the origin of Tevesh Zad, and he basically defeats the Feralites, and they get. Yeah, you can read some stuff here about the story. I'm not gonna spoil too much. Here's a map of Sarpedia. It's an island, kind of like Teleria, I guess. Yeah, you have like the dwarven locations. You have Havenwood. It's kind of interesting how the elves in Havenwood are kind of bluish. This isn't even mentioned here, but I like how they, from plane to plane and even from island to island, goblins and elves look so different from each other. Yeah, the Acacia is destroyed by orcs and goblins, and same for the dwarves. Yeah, Havenwood fell to the Thalids. Oh, Rainbow Way, that's cool. That's a card in a set. You have the Sarpadian Mountains, which are overrun by orcs and goblins. Voda or Vada Sea, home to the Vodalian merfolk, taken over by Homerids, like I said. Oh, the Teresian Isles. So this is pretty, like, you really have a sense of this place. And Fallen Empires is a very apt title for this expansion, because that is literally what happens in the story. And then, like, ironically, the Thralls, and to some extent, to a small extent, the Thalids, but most of the Thralls basically take over the island. But they don't really have the vision. They don't really have like a civilization or anything. So they just kind of roam, and I don't know what they do in their free time, but they don't really build an empire or anything. However, they do heavily resist the Phyrexian invasion later, and they prove insurmountable for the Phyrexians, which is hilarious. And the Phyrexians say that if the Thalids had like more of a civilization, and they would be aware of the lands beyond Sarpedia, they would be extremely dangerous. They would be like a even bigger threat than the Phyrexians themselves, which is hilarious. I'm not sure why, but that's what it said. Anyway, I'm not sure how much of this is even still canon. And but the point was that you have like inner conflicts inside colors, and I'm not sure they've ever done that again. Then you have like the very strong creature type theme. You have some cycles that are kind of, I would say, unremarkable comparatively. I wasn't even aware that this was a cycle. These are like weaker boons from Alpha. Balm of Restoration is like Healing Salve. Conch Horn, which is sometimes used, but I don't know. I mean, there's just not many artifacts that draw cards. And this is also a rare. Implements of Sacrifice is also kind of whatever. Although it can add any color mana. I mean, honestly, this is not bad. They are not bad, but as rares, they're kind of... Aeoli Pile is actually... I think this was actually used competitively because it's cheap enough, and dealing damage is not accessible to many colors, like blue or green, I would say. And it actually is fairly efficient. Elven Lyre, I would say, is also okay, though I'm not sure if I would play this over Taunos Weaponry. Then you have the Token Makers. Acacian Town is kind of interesting. 6 mana for 4 citizen tokens. These ones, I think Breeding Pit is also interesting because it makes it Thrall every turn. Like for Sacrifice decks, this could be... There weren't many things that could do this back then. Goblin Warrens is pretty awesome. And Night's All may be one of my favorite cards in the set because it can exile from a graveyard as a cost. Yeah, I can't think of anything else in the game that can do that. Exiling from an opponent's graveyard as a cost and make a separating token. It's extremely strong. I love Knights, so it's a great... you could put it in a sideboard, you could even put it in the main deck. Yeah, then you have these guys. These cards are not very good. Thrall Champion costs too much, but it could be interesting. Dwarven Lieutenant Dwarf's just not strong enough. Fungal Bloom, I like that one though. Like, I feel like this set is a lot of fun if you play in a lower power environment. Like maybe the standard games we're gonna be doing. And then we have the lands are actually pretty decent in the set. I don't really see people talk about it a lot, but these sack lands that can they come into play tapped. You can either tap them normally for the color or sacrifice them to get 2 of the color. Yeah, like especially Dwarven Ruins, oh, Havenwood Battleground. Look at how this looks. That's crazy. That's after it was overrun by the Thalids. So I guess this is, yeah, so all 4 of these, all 5 of these are the aftermaths of the battles. That's actually pretty awesome. They're Ruins of Trocair. This is, I guess, something in Acacia, probably. Svelonite Temple is probably after like some merfolk location that's been destroyed by the Homerids. Ebon Stronghold is probably some Ebon hand stronghold that was destroyed by the thralls. Dwarven Ruins obviously was overrun by the orcs and the goblins. And Havenwood Battleground, like I said, the Thalids probably obliterate. And it's interesting how the damage looks. We're gonna take a look at that later. Then we have the storage lands, Acacian Store, where you can, comes to play tap, you can choose not to untap it, put a storage counter in it, and then you can tap it and remove any number of storage counters to add that number of mana to your mana pool. So these are like for very slow games. Very, very slow. Sand Silos, Bottomless Vault. The arts on these are really good too. Maybe these two look a bit too similar to each other, but you know. Hollow Trees. Yeah. And then these pairs here, not really that notable. Except for, I want to call out... Oh, these ones are pretty good, actually. I didn't even know that was a white version of this, because I've seen in the shits way more. Yeah, for Elzal and Neckrite are both pretty good. Yeah, these two are probably the best ones. Maybe these are even the best creatures in the set. Order of Lightburn, Order of the Ebon Hand. These are the Pump Knights. They were so good that they made Pump Knights 2 in Ice Age. What was it called? Knight of Stromgald and Order of the White Shield or something like that. Oh yeah, Raiding Party is also a hilarious card. I will talk about it later. And this has notable cards: Goblin Grenade, High Tide, Hymn to Turok, and Order of the Ebon Hand. Yeah, the Pump Knights. So yeah, we've now talked about the concept of the set, the story, somewhat. I mean, you can read much more about the story, but yeah, and some of the cycles and some notable cards. But I would like to take a deeper look at the set. Yeah, we're only 34 minutes into the stream. We can go on. So I'm going in somewhat blind. I mean, not entirely, because I have played and seen the set before. So let's take a look. I mean, yeah, these are the white commons. Very creature heavy. All of them are creatures. So all the white, literally, oh, this is already interesting. All the white commons are creatures. So they really wanted white. If you pull white cards out of the set, they really wanted to have a lot of it. This gives a lot of material for the white weenie decks. So Order of Lightbird, this has 4 different arts. Yeah, this one is great. Oh, it has 3 different arts. Really, only 3? Okay. ABC. Yeah, I'm gonna, if I run something like this, I will use all three arts, obviously. Yeah, Order of Lightbird. That's a common. It's so good. Protection from black. You can pay 2 white to give it +1/+0 until end of turn, or 1 white mana to give it first strike until end of turn. It looks unassuming, but it's actually really, really strong. Protection from black is really good. It protects you from pestilence, from terror, and you know, a lot of things. Although it cannot block Hypnotic Spectre because it doesn't fly. Protection from white is generally a bit better, I think, at that time. But yeah, protection from black is still really good. Acacia and Javelineers, this is also a really good, really good. We're 2 commons in, and they're both really good cards. It can tap and ping something for 1 damage 1 time. Can throw its javelin at something. It also has like 4 arts. Okay, now it doesn't want to load. Okay. Wait, only 3? Maybe I misremembered then, I guess. So yeah, 3 arts. They all look a bit silly, but yeah. Acacia and Javelineers. Oh, white weenie 1-drop. Honestly, I like them a lot. And there's a flavor to it. Pharrell Zealot. Yeah, this is the leader of the Pharrellites. Pharrell, a former priest, believed Acacia was far too complacent toward the Order of the Ebon Hand. That even looks like Pharrell, but I think it's just one of his followers. Yeah, so there's a lot of effects like this in the set. Like when the creature attacks and isn't blocked, you can activate an effect. Usually it sacrifices the creature, but Pharrell Zealot doesn't. And Pharrell Zealot does something unusual for white. It deals 3 damage to a creature if it's not blocked. So this is pretty cool. Like it forces the opponent to like block, like chump block, or take 3. Like it's kind of like a. Well, this art's kind of gross. And the flavor texts are different too. Pharrell and his followers became a formidable band of vigilantes, battling Acacians and followers of Turok. After the fall of Trocaire, Pharrell and his ruins of Trocaire, that's on the land. Pharrell and his followers formally broke their ties with the rest of Acacia. Yeah, so they became so zealous that they even became like kind of a warrior cult of their own, with the sole purpose of weeding out the Ebon Hand. Like it kind of made them like a cult themselves, even though they're trying to weed out a cult. Like it's kind of like the Abyss stared back at them kind of situation. Then we have Acacia and Infantry. This is an interesting comparison with Banalish Hero. It does not have banding initially, but you can give it banding for 1 mana, and you can also give it first strike. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's a nice side grade. The Acacian army easily repelled early surprise attack by orcs and border towns like 1-4. Yeah, so okay, so they have 4 different arts. Well, they had long been concerned about the Order of the Ebon Hand. The Acacians faced an even greater threat from goblins and orcish raiders. Even Acacia was the last of the Sarpedian empires to fall. Its faithful soldiers defended their cities to the very end. Never surrender. Yeah, very different interpretations of the Acacian infantry. This is a small set, so I mean, I don't think it's gonna take that long, but I want to linger a little bit on these. Acacian Money Changer. Yeah, so Acacia was obviously not just warriors, but it was also like it had an economy and stuff like that. This guy, yeah, credit counters. Yeah, he just kind of slowly gives you life, I guess. Yeah, this guy's not that good. 0-2 for 1 mana is interesting though. Acacian Scout. This can give other creatures first strike. Honestly, that's not bad. It's not bad. First strike used to be on uncommons only, and now you have a recurring being a guy who can give it to others. The enemy has spies. I'm a scout. That's funny. This art, Richard K. Ferguson's art is so good. And this art looks like it could be from like Tempest or something. Like it's so good. Yeah, so they also fought the orcs. Let it be known that Aelis Colonel acted with honor and bravery in the defense of the town of Montfort, risking her life to scout the enemy's position. And this one is Phil Foglio. This one is hilarious. Balancing need to discover that they need to get all information you can. It's only by Lightburst's good grace that I'm still alive today. So like a lot of like, so this is a very unique setting where the quote-unquote the good guys kind of lose. Like, so the Acacians are just kind of doomed. Like you have this sense of like, yeah, we're not gonna make it, bros. Like they fight honorably and valiantly, but they still fail. Combat Medic, this seems kind of bad because it's, well, actually, it doesn't need to tap. That's interesting, but it's probably just too much mana. Interesting art, though. Anson Medics. This set is, I mean, like I said, just like the Dark, there's just a lot of flavor here, but I feel like, honestly, I'm starting to like the Fallen Empire's flavor even more than the Dark. Maybe, because it's just much more cohesive. The Dark was a bit more, it had a lot of lack of focus, especially in blue and in arguably in green. I don't know. Okay, so this was the white commons. Let's see the white uncommons. So it was only creatures and mostly like soldiers and healers. Feralite priests. These are the more zealous ones. The methods were often brutal. Feral's followers believed in the preservation of justice and virtue. Yeah, this is the one that can filter mana into white mana, and it's funny that this is like the initiate of the Ebon Hand, so they're both cultish. It's like, yeah, you become so zealous, you become like the cult that you're trying to destroy, which is, I mean, I don't know. There's like a lot of flavor. There's a moral of the story here for me. And what if the Feralites hadn't been as crazy? What if there was still unity in Acacia? Would they have maybe not fallen to all the goblins and orcs and all that? Maybe they would have held together more. Heroism is kind of whatever. Sacrifice a white creature to blank a red creature's attack. I mean, you could just play a Circle of Protection. I don't really understand the point of this. Yeah, I don't really. Why does this exist? Feature attacking or prevent all content be dealt back. Ah, it's all of them. Okay. Yeah, but that's still too steep of a cost unless you make a bunch of tokens, I guess. Still, I think Circle Protection is much easier to use. Acacian Priest. This is interesting because this doesn't tap. Like, you think a lot of these abilities, they look awful, but it doesn't tap. Like, if you have a lot of mana, maybe, I don't know. May you be strong and valiant to defeat the enemies of the pure. Oh, it was reprinted in 10th edition. Interesting. Drew Tucker. Acacian Phalanx. So this is a 2/4 with banding for 5 mana. Even after the wall was breached in half a dozen places, the phalanxes fought on, standing solely against the onrushing raiders, disciplined and dedicated. They held their ranks to the end, even in the face of tremendous losses. Art is a bit too goofy. Kaya Foglio, I mean, I don't know. Maybe the wrong artist for this, but you know, no offense to Kaya, she's great, but maybe the wrong tone for the set in particular. Pharrell's Mantle, this was actually in the story. This was mentioned in the book. I don't remember exactly what it did, but it was some kind of blessing that made one of his concubines much harder to defeat, but it was disenchanted. And then eventually she was defeated. Made yield any other turn. Yeah, okay. So this is kind of like, this gives the Pharrell's Zealot ability to another creature. Except it's only... actually, yeah. Power +2, that's a lot. But this is not worth it. This is not a good card. This is already everything, so let's go to white rares. This is probably kind of disappointing. Maybe Acacian Town should have been an uncommon or something, I don't know. Hand of Justice is interesting. Come to cleanse the world if we are true. Oliver Farrell. So is that him? Is he the Hand of Justice? I think it's him. I think actually it might be him. I've seen artwork of him from the comic. I think that's supposed to be him, actually. I think that's Oliver Farrell. Yeah, it's kind of weird that they didn't make him a legendary creature. It's strange that the Dark and Fallen Empires didn't have legends. I think they only started doing that in Ice Age again after Legends. Yeah, so Hand of Justice, tap 3 untapped white creatures. This is very strong and limited, possibly, and so 2/6 is very hard to kill. Acacian Skirmishers, 4 mana for a 1/1 with banding and first strike, and everything it bans with it also gets first strike, but it's just way too weak. Even though banning and first strike is a really powerful combination. Acacia and Lieutenant, yeah, this also doesn't tap. So there's a lot of mana sinks in this set. Acacia is ordered to pass a series of tests, fighting leadership, also integrity, honor, and moral strength. Acacia's once peaceful towns faced increasing attacks from orcs and goblins as the climate cooled. By the time the Empire fell, they were little more than armed camps. Yeah. And you can see how this kind of disheveled, you know, like stuff just lying around. Windows are open for no reason. There's nobody outside. There's only a couple horses left. Yeah, it seems kind of barren. Yeah, but there's so much story like on each card. It's pretty cool. Okay, so that was white. Yeah, like I said, a lot about Pharrell and his zealots and Acacia. So yeah, that was pretty cool. So now we go to the Vodalian Merfolk and the Homerids. And we immediately see one of the most notable cards in the set, High Tide. This is used in combo decks, and it makes until end of turn all your islands produce an additional blue mana when tapped for mana. When the very tides turn against you, it's time to consider retirement. Yeah, this is referring to the Homerids just powering up with the tides. This has 3 or 4 different arts, right? Yeah. Yeah. Miss Villain and her tides favor you. By the time their enemies noticed the sea's changing mood, the Vodalians had often shifted formation and were ready to attack. So interestingly, this makes it sound like the Merfolk also benefited from the high tide. Vodalian Mage. This is interesting because this guy barely looks like a Merfolk. He does have fins. Or netted fingers, I don't know. Vodalian mages are remarkable. They're merchants, bring them arcane lore and devise from across the seas. I think the other arts look much more like Merfolk. Like that's maybe a bit of an issue. Like you can't make the Merfolk look that much different from each other on the different arts. That doesn't really make sense because it's supposed to be the same Vodalian Merfolk from around the same island, right? So that's that doesn't make much sense. Why is Skyfall loading so slowly right now? Just when I need it. Okay. Yeah, this one looks a bit weird. Everyone knows Merfolk can't wield magic. Goblin Flotilla Commander, last words. I think this one is my favorite from Quentin Hoover. Valuable in magical combat. The home is rated with strength, numbers, and very little magic. Yeah, unfortunate. So these Merfolk also lost. Yeah, really nice art. So this actually is a pretty good card, I think. 3 mana 1/1 that for 1 mana can target a spell. So it's a force spike on a stick, which is very annoying just to have in play. So basically everything costs 1 more for the opponent. Then we have Vodalian Soldiers, which is like a Merfolk with a pole trident with 1 more toughness. Underwater combat is 3-dimensional. Thrice them Vodalians don't attack in ranks, they attack in schools. Man, this art is so good. Such a good card used on a random vanilla that you'll probably never see played, but... You stand against the Homerids for Vodalia and for honor. Your homeland cries out for protection. The moment has come. Now let your valor shine and sound the cry to battle. Victory to Vodalia. Yeah. You really get a sense of these places. Yeah, now we have the other side, obviously, the Homerids. The basic Homerid that... And they made them maybe a bit too complicated, like they get powered up with the tides, so... And just with a tide counter... When you have your upkeep, put a tide counter. As long as there's exactly 1, it gets -1/-1. So the first time you can actually attack with it, it has 1/1. And then the turn after that has 2/2. And then the turn after that it has 3/3. 4 or more remove all tide. Yeah, and then it's a 2/2 again. right? And it's a 2/2, and then it's 1/1. And then it's a 2/2 again, and then it's a 3/3. It's a lot to keep track of. This one, I think this is on a booster. I could be wrong. But look at these crab people. They're hilarious. No space for flavor text, though. I love it. This was probably complicated to draw. Mark Teeden. I mean, the artwork's amazing. Crab people. Then we have Homered Warriors. They can give themselves Shroud. This is like them retreating into their shell. Like, many of them have this ability. They can give themselves Shroud and then they don't untap. It's like retreating back into the shell. Pretty cool. Look at this guy. He has why does he have a stick in his hand? He already has pincers. It's so pointless. I think this just taps a creature and doesn't let it untap. It's kind of like a proto stun counter. 3 death counters. Yeah, you catch a merfolk or something like that. Some of these arts I've never seen before. Tidal Flats. Blocking and flanking. First strike. Okay. Yeah, okay. Interesting. So it gives blue creatures first. Like, it's so strange. It doesn't really fit into blue at all. But this set's a bit different. It's just more combat focused. Even in blue. Yeah, so. Then we have Sea Singer. This can steal something, but only if the opponent has islands. As long as she's tapped. It's a little bit like Old Man of the Sea, but with a different restriction. Then we have Deep Spawn. I've actually seen this played in tournaments now, in old school tournaments. Yeah, you have to mill cards for some reason. This is like the big boss of the Homerids. It's so cool. It can also give itself Shroud. And it has Trample. Why does it mill cards? It's actually pretty good. The only problem with this guy is that he's 8 mana. But Shroud, dude, like 8 mana 6/6. I mean, I think that might be better than Leviathan or whatever else giant blue creatures that there had been. Svelonite Priest. Target creature may not be the target. Oh, it gives something Shroud. That's pretty cool. I kind of like it. This is like the white one that gives first strike. Svelun, Goddess of the Pearl Moon. A more abstract figure. Interesting. Giving things Shroud, I mean, I don't hate it. That's pretty decent. Tidal Influence. So they try to do flavorful stuff like fighting in the sea. Only if no permanents on the battlefield against a tide counter. Put a tide counter as long as there's exactly one. All blue creatures get minus. So it starts off by giving every blue creature -2, -0. Exactly 3. All blue get +2. I mean, this is fun. I mean, I don't know. Like, if you play just this set, you can have a lot of fun. I mean, if you play this and Homerids, there's a lot of counters to keep track of for every single Homerid. His number of. Okay, well. Only 4 blue rares. River Merfolk. This can get Mountain Walk. That's funny. It's like a Merfolk Assassin in the dark would give things Island Walk. Dwelling on icy mountain streams to the goblin orcish foes, the River Merfolk were known for their stoicism. I'm not sure. Why is this a rare? That doesn't make any sense. That is a very disappointing rare. Vadalian Knights. First strike. First strike in blue. 3 mana 2/2 with first strike. Flying until the turn, Vadalian's been attacking us, puncture at least 1 island. Well, blue is the color that can flood the opponent's lands and turn them into islands, so that's interesting. Like with Phantasmal Terrain or something like that. You could do that. Yeah. But even if it can't attack, flying first strike 2/2 for 3 is okay. As like a aggressive wall. Maybe a sideboard card, especially in standard at the time. Homerid Shamans. So they had Shamans. That's crazy, bro. Tap a target green creature. That's hilarious. 4 mana 2/1 that taps green creatures. I mean, that's just funny. Why only the trees as the waters grew higher and higher? Quickly of Havenwood. Havenwood, remember. So they attacked the elves of Havenwood too. The ground was swampy, hoofs and claws sank into the marshy earth. That's hilarious. Vodalian war. This one is terrible. I mean, no wonder the Vodalians lost if this is the kind of war equipment that they were using. I mean, this is honestly nonsense, and it killed everyone that used it. Yeah, it's a 0/4 wall for 3 mana. You need to tap an untapped Merfolk to let it attack, and then you can tap more Merfolk to give it +2/+1. And when this dies, destroy all Merfolk taps to pay for it. So this is like a proto vehicle that killed everyone inside it. I mean, yeah, this is bad. Okay, the blue rares are weird and not good. I have to say, like, unfortunate. So, like, honestly, both in the Dark and Fallen Empires, blue is a bit not the color that's pushed. But I would say it did get some good cards, like Vodalian Mage, High Tide. I don't remember a single good blue card in the Dark, but Amnesia? Is that from there? Anyway. It was really not the set for it. Like, they just, like, Jesper first probably didn't care much for blue in the Dark. Like, you can tell it was kind of not the focus at all. Okay, let's take a look at black. This is the one with the Thralls and the Order of the Ebon Hand. And of course, maybe possibly the best card in the set, Hymn to Turok. Band and Pauper. Members of often played the hymn instruments made from. Yeah, this is one of those weird arts that doesn't fit the flavor text at all. Yeah, this is the one I've seen the most probably. Eerie Wailing Hymn Cost and Standing with Hardened Warriors. Great art by Susan Van Camp. I've also seen this one a lot. To fight him after his death. I've also seen this one a lot. Carefully guard their pillaged transcriptions. Just this one I haven't seen much, but yeah. So I mean, enough said. Black to let an opponent discard 2 cards at random. Maybe one of the best discard cards ever, except for like Mind Twist. But yeah, like the efficiency is insane. Then we have the Thralls, like a lot of Thralls, especially at common. Basal Thrall. Should be hideous. Blast of Con, Twist of Limb to inspire fear and revulsion. Yeah, so they're basically like a slave race. Only introduced alchemic elements into Order's necromancy. Turok's principles remained unchanged. Man, the RKF arts are so good. So Basal Thrall is honestly pretty good. Phil Foglio, yeah. Not sure I like this one. It's a bit too goofy for me. Kaya Foglio again. Yeah, so you can sacrifice and tap this person thing to add 2 black mana to your mana pool. So it can, and it has a 1/2 actually. There's gonna be better cards like this later. But yeah. Basal Thrall is honestly, as a common in Fallen Empires, it's not that bad. Then we have Order of the Ebon Hand, obviously one of the best creatures in the set. Took pride in huge exclusion of other concerns. Yeah, I've seen all 3 arts I use. Oh, maybe this one a bit less, I think. In the Order, Indications, Lightbringer religions, just the 2 had a common origin. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, to be honest. Yeah, this one looks awesome too. Demonstrate the devotion with grisly rituals. Yeah, so same as the Order of Lightbringer, except black or protection from white. Extremely good card. Much more offensive than Black Knight. And you have Mindstep Thrall, which honestly I like. This is one of those where if it attacks it is unblocked, you can sacrifice it, and the opponent discards 3 cards. And it's a 2/2 for 3. Like, come on, man. This set did have usable cards in it. Like, I just don't get, like, I would call this a notable card. It's not that bad. Especially in lower power environments. Initiates of the Ebon Hand, these can filter mana into black. And I would say this is much more important than filtering into white, because black has a lot of effects that require black mana, like Drain Life or Pestilence. So yeah, filtering into black I think is pretty important. Necrite, this can, if it attacks and is unblocked, can sack it to destroy a creature. Actually Bury, and it has no limitation unlike Necrotal. So it's not like Terror, it can destroy black and artifact creatures actually. So Necrite is honestly not bad, that's a 2/2 as well. And Armor Thrall. This thing makes combat very complicated for your opponent. It can honestly just stick around and be annoying, because you can sacrifice it to give a creature +1/+2 as a counter, like permanently. Honestly, yeah, in a limited environment, this is extremely much more annoying than you would think. Kind of like Tauna's weaponry, but arguably better. And it's a 1/3, which is a pretty nice stat line in black. I'm gonna go to uncommons. Yeah, we get, what is the Soul Exchange? So exile a creature. Ooh, this can bring something back from your graveyard. Exile a creature, return a creature from your graveyard to battle, put a +2/+2 counter. If the exile creature was a thrall. That's pretty cool. It's just a bit like an anime dead, but without enchanting it, and +2/+2 if you exile a thrall. That's crazy good, but probably difficult to build a deck around. But imagine if that creature is the Thrall champion, actually. That's pretty cool. You could make a cool deck with this. Thrall Retainer gets +1/+1, sacrifices to regenerate it. That's pretty cool. Thrall Wizard, isn't that basically... Oh, it counters black spells. If the opponent doesn't pay an additional black or 3. That's interesting, but probably not that useful. Also, 1/1 for 3. Yeah, Breeding Pit. This makes a bunch of thralls. Turok's Chant. I think this is a hoser. The player puts a force into play, deal 3 damage unless the player puts a minus 1. Yeah, this is almost like Blight. That's interesting. Yeah, I like it. I see the vision. Anyway, rares. Ebon Praetor, one of the most infamous artworks in the set. There's entire videos dedicated to this. First Strike and Trample, 6 mana 5/5. Put a -2/-2 counter on this creature. Sacrifice a creature, remove a sacrifice creature was a thrall. I mean, that is funny. Avatar Praetor. Interesting. This is like the big boss in your thrall deck. Not sure what the story here. Like, what is this? What does this have to do with thralls? I don't know. Anyway, here's the Thrall Champion. There's a 2/2 for 5 that gives all thralls +1/+1. But that includes himself, right? Yeah, so he's a 3/3 for 5, which is honestly not the worst. Gain control of target thrall for as long as you control this creature. Yeah. If you find a way to turn things into thralls, maybe that's awesome, but if you, if you revive this guy with Soul Exchange, that's a 5/5. Not bad. Therilor is pretty terrible. Your black spells cost an additional black to cast. This thing showed up in the story. It was summoned, but also quickly defeated. So, that's, yeah, this is a rare. So the rares, you know, questionable. Turok's Gate. Put 3 time counters on this aura. But if you upkeep, remove time counter, return no turn, just sacrifice, tap a channel, land, attack creature to control it. +2/-1 until end of turn. That's pretty cumbersome, but could be funny in a thrall deck. I don't know. Maybe you can. I mean, this with the Breeding Pit could work. It could work. You could. They definitely gave you a lot of material to make a thrall deck. For sure, there's way more thrall stuff in black than the Order of the Ebon Hand stuff. Basically, every black rare is thrall related. That's crazy. Okay. Okay, let's take a look at the Orcs and Goblins of red. That was already everything from black. I mean, yeah. Goblin Chirurgeon, sacrifice a goblin to regenerate a target creature. That's funny. Here's Goblin Grenade, one of the best red cards in the set. This can end games very quickly. Great art by Ron Spencer. The others are pretty decent too. I mean, goofy art does fit goblins. Yeah, to sacrifice a goblin and deal 5 damage to any target. It's extremely strong. Goblin War Drums. This is actually the first instance of Menace. The Menace keyword. This has 4 arts. Ooh, is this? Yeah, it's RK. If you really, he's very recognizable. This art looks awesome. I've never seen this. Yeah, Orcish Spy. Okay, we're an hour. So actually, we're making quick progress. Only an hour to the stream. Orcish Spy. Yeah, this is not very good. Brass Claw Orcs is like a slightly stronger Iron Claw Orcs. Can be set to block any creature power greater than 1. Yeah, the same effect as the Iron Claw. It's, you know, slightly stronger. Dwarven Soldier. Yeah, so in red you have the dwarfs and the orcs and the goblins fighting each other. They were definitely more willing to print orcs and dwarfs back then, but then they went much harder into goblins. Blocks with blockboard gets +0, +2 until maybe because they figured, you know, the dwarf stuff doesn't really fit into red mechanically. Like getting toughness doesn't feel very red. You only have one dwarf in the among the comments. That already tells you a lot. Everything else is goblin and orcs. Orcish veteran. Yeah, I mean that shows that dwarfs were defeated. Look, any white creature power greater than 1. Okay, interesting. So this is a 2/2 for 3 that can give itself first strike. That's kind of funny. To fear the swift justice of the Acacia. Yeah, so they don't like the Acacians, so they can't block them. That's hilarious. They can only block the citizens, but not the knights. That's hilarious. The veterans. So their experience taught them not to mess with the... This art is really good. Yeah, so... It is really notable how few dwarfs are in here. Dwarven Lieutenant. Yeah, this gives force +1, +0. But there's barely dwarfs in the set. Goblin Kites. Flying. This is... I have to flip a coin. That's funny. Orcish Captain. This art looks very weird. This gives flip a coin for the orc gets +2, +0, +0, -2. There's a chance to win every battle. Yep, that's true. Raiding Party. So this is the really funny card I was mentioning earlier. The art is hilarious, first of all, and second, it's kind of a very strange color hoser. Also, it's an interesting set where red and white are like warring and not... Well, white and black are warring too, but the red has like is very focused on defeating white. Disenchantment can be target of white spells or abilities from white sources, so it cannot be disenchanted, which is funny. You can sacrifice an orc. Each player may tap any number of untapped white creatures they control. For each creature tapped this way, that player choose up to 2 planes and destroy all planes that are chosen this way by any... Yeah, this is... Yeah, so, it destroys a bunch of planes. Yeah, I mean, the original text says sacrifice an orc to destroy all planes, and they can tap creatures to prevent this. They tap white creatures to prevent this. So it's like, there's a lot of flavor here. You can throw orcs at the opponent's lands, and they can protect their lands by tapping white creatures, but if they don't do it, the lands are destroyed. This is hilarious and extremely flavorful. This might be, like, flavor-wise, my favorite card in this, because, like, you can imagine what's happening here. And then we have Dwarven Catapult, a card that I honestly try to use occasionally in the previous limited run. X damage divided evenly rounded down among all creatures target opponent control. So it's kind of like a side grade to Fireball that has to deal damage to all the creatures, but it doesn't target. So things with Shroud still get hit, which I find pretty interesting. Protection still protects you because it's damage, but Shroud and Hexproof don't work. So that's cool. I like red in this set, anyway. This looks a bit more complex. Dwarf of an Armorer, got a card from here to put either... And I haven't been reading the flavor text of the goblins, because they're kind of similar to how they usually are, you know. Numbers hidden from the enemy until it was too late. Yeah. Let's put a card from your hand. Yeah, so the armor, yeah, he puts he uses scrap to make armor or weapons. +0/+1 or +1/0. It is flavorful, but I'm not sure this should be a rare. Like, why is this a rare? And yeah, it doesn't really fit the red. So the dwarfs lost because they don't really fit into the color. Goblin Warrens can make a lot of goblins. Goblin Flotilla is Island Walk. I think this is a mirrored pair to something. Okay. Org. Trample, 5 mana, 6/6. May not attack if opponent controls untapped creature of power greater than 2. So this, the concept here is that Org is huge but a coward. It's bigger than it thinks. Yeah, it can't attack or block anything with power 3 or greater. Yeah, it's a giant coward. Anyway, that was already red. Now we get to the Havenwood Elves, which are blue for some reason. And the Thallets. Honestly, there's a lot more Thallet stuff, which shows that, again, they won. Night Soil. Killing the Thallets only encouraged. I mean, I love this card. Thallet, yeah, so they get spore counters slowly, and then they can use the spore counters to do things. The normal Thallet makes saproling tokens. Spore Cloud. What is this? Fog. Tap all blocking creatures. No creature deal damage in combat this turn. Okay, and they don't untap. That's funny. Elvish Scout. Untap a target attacking creature you control. You know, if you see, okay, this is like a Maze of Ith on your own creatures. Even for elves, they were stealthy little twerps, so taking no measure before we'd even seen them. Yeah, so some artists drew them not blue, but others drew them blue. Interesting. Yeah, what did that flavor text say? Well, the elves of Haven lived in isolated villages. Their swift communications allowed them to act as a single community. Yeah. But they also quarreled with each other, like elves usually do. Yeah, so Mark Poole, it looks like, drew the elves blue. And the others, so this is kind of ambiguous. This one barely looks like an elf, to be honest. Never had a standing army. When battle came, they pressed hunters, scouts, and farmers. A surprisingly effective militia. How was it surprisingly effective? I mean, they lost. So I don't know about that. It doesn't. Yeah. So this taps things down. That's kind of no reach. This is still like an early archer design, I guess. Yeah, 2 mana 1/1 that makes things not on tap. That's interesting. Probably too low impact. Elven Fortress, target blocking creature gets +0/+1. So yeah, so this is where the elves took refuge when they were being overwhelmed. Pretty cool arts. Weren't built by masons and carpenters, but created from the living forest itself. Misled foes, elves enchanted the forest to provide first line defense for tangling vines and stinging horns. Ordinary enemies of flesh and bone and reason. They attack with no thought for our strength or their own losses. If your fortresses shall be overwhelmed. Yeah, the elves were not well prepared for something like the Thallets. What do you suppose will become of those overhanging branches? And what do you suppose will become of us? Eva was an elf? I think she's mentioned on other flavor texts. Then we have Thorn Thallet. So this one, yeah, this is the one I like. This one can ping things for 1 damage. Usually I see this art. This one looks crazy. The Thallet art. The cooling climate forced the elves to experiment with new food sources. Yep. The danger to cultivating massive plants caught the elves by surprise. But it's not a plant, it's a fungus, bro. Come on, man. getting hit with those darts or having to watch them grow back. So whether the Thalass were truly sentient, yeah, I guess. Yeah, this is a very interesting conflict with the elves and the Thalids. Not something you see usually. Thalid Devourer. This is he has the usual Thalid ability. We can make a Saproling token, but he can also sacrifice Saprolings to give himself +1/+2 until end of turn. Which, honestly, this can be really strong. This is like a finisher. This could be like a big boss. Move 3, Spore counters, no creatures deal damage. This is like a regrowing fog. Spore. This art is really cool. Is this showing what she's dreaming of? Thalanite Druid. Yeah, these are the guys that were cultivating the Thalids. All living things can bear an awe-inspiring fruit. Sacrifice a creature, force to control, become 2/3 creatures until end of. Yeah, that's crazy. It's like living lands. Yeah, honestly, this could be a big finisher. I think this in limited, this is pretty strong. And we have Feral Thala. This is like one of the biggest creatures in the set. You can use his spore counters to regenerate. Born and bred of fungus, Thalas were nearly impossible to kill. Yup, 6/3 that can regenerate, but only very slowly. Thelon's trying to think this is the Hoser for swamps, which doesn't really fit the set. I mean, it didn't really interact much with the Thralls or whatever, or the Ebon Hand. Yeah, this is kind of, I'm not really sure, like, flavor-wise. I think Thelon was one of the priests, the elven priests or whatever, but I forgot what. Wait. Alright, so that was the uncommons, and now the rares. Elvish Farmer. This is an elf that gets spore counters. You can make Saproling tokens and sacrifice Saprolings to gain 2 life. So maybe this was the farmers before the Thalids went crazy. So this was how it was supposed to be. Like, they were cultivating them for getting life. Man, there's so many Saproling tokens. First one was an invasion, apparently. That's a Saproling? What the hell is that? Okay. Anyway. Yeah, Fungal Bloom. This makes your spores grow faster, which is pretty cool. Thalanite Monk. Insect Monk Cleric. As the climate worsens, some Thalanites turn to fertilizing with fresh blood in an attempt to keep Havenwood alive and growing. Sacrifice a green creature, target land becomes a forest. That's funny. I mean, honestly, that could be pretty strong. Turning a Library of Alexandria into a forest. That's hilarious. That could be, honestly, that is an interesting rare. Thelon's Curse. Blue creatures not untap. Unless they pay an additional blue. I mean, that's pretty weak, to be honest. That's pretty weak. And a random blue hoser in a set where it just doesn't make much sense. And that was everything for color, well, non-colorless cards. Oops. I don't think there's probably no comments, right? Oh, there's one common. And it's a terrible artifact, Delif's Cone. Beasts must cause pain. Delif Ponderings. 0 cost artifact. Sacrifice artifact. Just turn when target creature control attacks and isn't blocked to make gain life equal to its power. Since no combat. Yeah, so this is pretty bad. This is not worth the card. But the artwork is really good. What a wasted artwork. At uncommon, we have the sacrifice lands. And at rare, we have the cycle of... well, first of all, we have Rainbow Veil. Yeah, Ailey Pile. I think this is the whole cycle of the boons from Alpha. Delif's Cube. No comment. So Dealif is like a pacifist or what? Put a cube cone over to regenerate. Yeah, okay. Draconian Silex. Regenerate a target. There's no gain without sacrifice. Interesting. That's an occasion proverb. It sounds more like Ebon Hand stuff. Discard a card random from hand and draw 2 cards. If it only didn't cost 10 mana, then Spirit Shield is okay, I guess. This is like a side grade to Tauntless Weaponry. Tauntless Weaponry gives +1/+1. This is +2/+0, +0/+2. I think I would use Tauntless Weaponry over this. These are the storage lands, and that is the whole of Fallen Empires. I hope you guys enjoyed looking through the set. Yeah, 514 legal cards. So the next thing that we do is that we actually open 60 packs of this amazing set. I hope I made some of you interested in this set, or maybe even excited. It was 60, right? Pretty sure it was. I was looking at a picture recently. Yeah, 60 packs of very cheap Fallen Empires packs. Fallen Empires, let's go. What do I want? Well, obviously, Hymn to Turok, Goblin Grenade, High Tide. But I also want Pump Knights. I mean, most of what I want are commons, so I think it's gonna be great. This is gonna be actually pretty good because the good cards are commons. Let's see. Goblin Flotilla is hilarious. Okay. River Merfolk, Orcish Spy, Combat Medic, Money Changer, Elvish Hunter, Orcish Veteran. Orcish Veteran is okay, but otherwise probably not gonna use much in this pack. Hymn to Turok. I'm sorry for the kind of blurry arts. Okay, so we already got 2 Hymn to Turok in 1 pack. That's actually insane. Goblin War Drums is good. Woman Soldier is okay. Spore Cloud is also okay. Rainbow Veil, that's nice. Okay, we already had 3 Hymn to Turok in 3 packs. I don't know how anyone can complain about this. Order of Lightbur, Initiates of Ebon Hand, Brass Claw Orcs. So, I mean, some people said this set is really not fun to open, but honestly, I'm enjoying this. Hey, Havenwood Battleground, that's the green sack land. Order of Lightbur. Thorn Thalid, I like that thing. Vidalian Mage, yep. Order of the Ebon Hand. I mean, I think we will get playsets of everything. Sea-Sing, every common at least. Sea-Singer, Ebon Hand again. Pharrell Zealot, there we go. Thelonite Druid, I might experiment with this thing. Necrite. I mean, the point of the different artworks was to make things look fresh, even though they're the same cards. And, you know, I mean, you can see it as a negative, where at first you think it's a different card, but then it's the same one. You're like, whoa, this is, what is this? Oh, it's just the same Order of the Ebon Hand again. But, you know, it is a small set, so there's not going to be much variety. Dwarven Catapult, that's nice. Okay, Goblin Warrants. I might want to put this in a Goblin deck at some point. Him. I've only seen this artwork of him so far. Have I? I don't remember. Javelineers. Yep. Okay. Good. Mindstab Thrall. Damn. That Chirurgeon art is hilarious. This is actually Land of War Elves, Jedid Ojanen from Legends, and that regenerating troll from Alpha. I forgot its name. Oh, what was its name? The 3-mana 2/2. Okay. Another Thelnite Druid. I want more Homerids. Hell yeah, 3 Homerids in one pack. Breeding Pit. Combat Medic. Light Burr. Yeah, so I mean, maybe some people could be saying that I'm coping and the set sucks to open, but a lot of these things are not flashy, but they will give us tools to fill out decks like White Weenie decks with the Javelineers and Lightburr, right? Or Black Sacrifice decks. Or maybe you even want to use some Thalids, you know, in your green deck. I mean, there's actually not that many good green creatures out there at that time. And I think something like Thorn Thalid, you could do a lot worse than this. Armor Thrall is a pretty nice black creature at 3 mana. Or Mind Step Thrall. It's not flashy, but it fills out the creatures at the time were in general not that good. Okay, I kind of want more of the sack lands. Here's Turok's Gate. Here's Acacian Town. Okay. Rainbow Veil again. I only have 1 City of Brass, so I might actually use Rainbow Veil. Even though it's kind of bad. I mean, kind of depends, but... Yep. At this point, there's a lot of repeats, so... But it's a whole box. I think we already got basically all we... Actually, did we get? Yeah, we got a lot of Goblin Grenades. Here's the white storage land. I'm not sure I like these text boxes because this looks like a red land to me. But it's actually the white. Fungal Bloom. Aeoli Pile, I would like to see more of this. Orcish Captain, Brass Claw Orcs. Yep. Another Rainbow Veil. We're gonna have a full, easily have a full playset of this thing. Hollow Trees. Sand Silos. That's a storage land for blue. I'm kind of disappointed in the number of, here's the Ruins of Torquer, here's the white one. This just doesn't look like a white land. Like, it's just, because of the text box, why are they all red? Acacian Store, Sand Silos. Did I even get a single Thrillite Temple? Here's the Dwarven Ruins, that's pretty nice. Bone Restoration. Okay. Dwarven Hold, okay. Yeah, I mean, you know, more land options. And that's also why there's like no multi-color land, except for Rainbow Veil. Which is an actual location in the story, I think. Bottomless Vault, okay. More Dwarven Hold. Goblin Warrens, yep. And that's it. Oh, well, I mean, it got a bit exciting near the end because there's just so many repeats. But yeah. Add cards. Fallen Empires. Let's see. Yeah, this doesn't even recognize them as rares. Bottomless Wall, 2 of them. Only 1 Aeoli Pile, that's crazy. 3 Breeding Pits. Only 1 Deep Spawn. 1 Derelor. 3 Dwarven Catapults. 2 Dwarven Holds. Only 1 Dwarven Ruin. I think I got unlucky with the lands, but I don't know how much I'm going to use them anyway. Full playset of Fungal Bloom. 3 Goblin Warrens. So I probably wouldn't play more than that anyway. 3 Haven with Battleground. Yeah, did I even... I don't think I got a single Swell Knight Temple. like 6 Rainbow Veils though. Winds of Trocair. Thought Devourer. Thrall Champion. And probably like, yeah, I'd be very surprised if it didn't have playsets of every common. So that's not that interesting, but let's see. Yeah, I think I didn't get so the black stars I've got 2, the red stars I've got 2. Only 1 Dwarven Ruins, 3 Havenwood Battleground, 2 of the green stars land, 2 of the white one. Yeah, that's crazy. Then 6 Rainbow Veils. That's crazy. So we didn't get the black. So among the sacrifice lands, we only got the green and the red one. And 1 copy of the white one. None of the black or blue one. That's hilarious. Are they ever reprinted? Okay, yeah, they're gonna be in 5th edition actually. With pretty cool art. And that's uncommons. How did I not get a single copy of... Well, I'm not even sure why I want it, to be honest. Like, why would blue want a sack land? I don't know. Okay, now the last thing we do in the stream is now 1.5 hours. Okay, the last thing we do is determine what we build our decks around. I'm gonna go to random cards. That's not legal. The first card I hit that's legal in our and exists in our formats, that's the one I'm gonna build around. Complaints Clerk. Okay, I have a lot of complaints. Dragon Skull Summit. Tezzeret, huh? Sylvan. I always thought that's a card that we have. I'm not counting basic lands. And I'm playing Dork format against Joe and Vintage against Kieran. So first... Hell yeah. I think I have like 3 or 4 of these guys. So Witch Hunter, that's crazy. Okay. So I'm gonna build a deck around Witch Hunter. That's the deck that's gonna be... Let's say this is the one for the Dork format. That's the one I'm gonna use against Joe. Gonna use a white deck against Joe, and let's see the other one, the one that's the vintage deck against Kieran. Ooh, that would be funny. Emmett Selch. Berea, Ethereum Shaper. Is that her normal art? That looks kind of weird. Wait, are you kidding me? Bro, you guys saw this live. I hit the same creature, like exact. How do I hit Witch Hunter twice? Bro. Just from a different set, Chronicles. Nah, I'm not gonna make 2. Ugh, I can't. The thing, no, this is dumb. Like, I'm not gonna make the same deck twice. That's stupid. Yeah, that would be just an invitation to lose. Like, I don't have the. I think I only have 4 Source to Plowshares. I'm checking the Dork. Like I think there's nothing white that's restricted. White has been getting pretty scot-free. But yeah, I don't think I have the resources for that. Let's just see what the next thing is. I don't think I'm gonna make 2 Witch Hunter decks. That's crazy. That's actually crazy. Visions. That's pretty cool. Balls of Fire. Yep. I can't even read what that is. Blue Sun Zenith. Okay. Crackling Drake. Ooh. Crimson Mantic. I don't think I have this guy. Do I? I don't have this thing, but okay. I actually do like this. I'm gonna make a red deck against Huron. Because last round I was using a worse blue deck than what he had, and I think red is the color to go against him. Unfortunately, I don't have this thing. If I win, I'm gonna try to get it. Or either way, I'm gonna try to get it. Unfortunately, I don't have it. But yeah, red deck against Curran. And a white deck against Joe. So Witch Hunter and Crim, these are some pretty interesting. Yeah, so if you guys wanna watch my deck building process, you're welcome to join the Discord. We also have a buy me a coffee, and our socials are in the description, in our link tree, and join the Discord. So this was Fallen Empires. I think a very underrated set. I had a lot to say about it, and yeah, it's fun. It has a very strong flavor, more than ever before, maybe, except maybe Antiquities and maybe the Dark. These are, I would say, the only 2 contenders. You could maybe make a case for Legends, but I don't think it'd win. Yeah, so Fallen Empires the set has a lot. It taught Wizards a lot of lessons, and fleshed out a lot of things for the game in the future. I think Ravnica couldn't have happened without Fallen Empires, or all the goblins, stuff like Onslaught, or you know, these creature-focused, tribal-focused sets. This really laid the groundwork for a lot of those things. Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys, for 1.5 hours of Fallen Empires. It's a very fun set. I had a lot of fun talking about it this stream, and we got a lot of cool tools that I hope I'm gonna build a deck around. What did we get for red? I don't know. I might use my ball lightnings. And some other things. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and see you next time for the gameplay stream. I'm also gonna be streaming Pokemon TCG live probably this weekend. And thanks for watching again. And yeah, the things in the description, the Discord, the socials. And yeah, next time probably with Joe or Kieran or both. And if you want to watch me play other TCGs, don't hesitate to ask. Echo is still sick, so, but he's recovering. We're gonna be playing Yu-Gi-Oh! I think soon, maybe next week. Thanks for the patience. I know it's been tough, but yeah. All right. Thanks, guys, and see you next time. Goodbye.